Thank you so much for being a part of our study in Deuteronomy. Uh, this week, this is Rudy's day off, and we're down at Frickin' Frack, and we do all of these in a week. This week, I'm going to rely a lot on Rudy, and he is going to talk loud.
I'm going to try.
We're going to work at that. So he's going to talk so you can hear better. And interestingly, we were just talking about this. Sometimes he gets in such awe of God that he gets quiet, just on the verge of tears. We just had that discussion. And so if he gets quiet, you just need to know God's filling in the blanks. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, here we go. So we're going to look at chapter 12, and they're getting ready to go into the promised land, and God tells them, you must demolish completely all the places where the nations whom you're about to dispose serve their gods on the mountain heights, on the hills, under every leafy tree. Break down their altars, smash their pillars, burn their sacred poles with fire. Hew down the idols of their God and blot out their name, that being the name of the pagan gods, from their places. You shall not worship the Lord your God in such ways. Let's just stop with that for a moment. They were sent in to destroy all the forms of false gods in the land. Can you describe some of these false gods? You want to talk about some of them? What was their nature and why it was so important to get rid of them?
Well, it was important to get rid of them because we see what happened in the book of Numbers when Balaam came from basically modern day Iraq to come and try to curse Israel, which God didn't let him, but there was this sexual immorality that happened just right after that because they fell into worshiping the Baal of Peor, which had to do with fertility and those kinds of things. But the 7 nations that God used Israel to judge their religious practices of following other gods were not any different than the spirit that's in the world today. It has to do with child sacrifice, worshiping the evil one, worshiping the creation, worshiping the hosts of heaven, even the sun or the moon. So these were the images that the children of Israel were supposed to destroy in the possessions of the people that they dispossessed.
Right. So let me respond to this in a current way. There are a few things that I avoid like the plague. I don't watch horror movies. I don't watch stuff that has anything to do with the occult. I think that any game, any kind of entertainment that deals with something that is just overtly opposed to God needs to be just don't get involved in it. So to be entertained by evil, to let that be a part of our entertainment scheme is something in my mind that fits as a sort of a current explanation of what we're reading here.
I agree with you, and I think that that it's true because it actually I don't watch horror movies either, but sometimes I do watch movies that have evil in them. But the movies that I watch that have evil in them all have a hero in the movie or the narrative that wins. Because that's really our story here on earth. The Lord wins.
Right.
And so in the heroes of the stories, Tolkien, there's a lot of darkness in it, but in the end, it's the return of the king. And
you're referring to the Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Is that okay?
So, but I am a lot like you that I don't want to make a threshold for the evil one
Right.
to have any standing in my space.
Right. One of the things that I picked up about idolatry, two things I guess. One of them was they believed they needed their idols in order to be prosperous. And this is where I'm as guilty as the next person in America to worship materialism, to worship the economic system of our country. And I use the word worship in quotes. It's more to serve it, to be a part of it, to be aligned with it. And it's very dangerous to make money more important than a relationship with God.
Yeah, it has to do with what you do for money. And in the 50 years that I have been working for myself, there were choices that were made in my life that I would not do for money. And I would guess that if I would have done them, I probably would be a richer individual, unspiritual.
Yeah, we wouldn't be sitting here today making videos.
No, we wouldn't, because they were all forks in the road.
Right, right. One of the other things that I learned, that's actually the study of Isaiah about idolatry, was when you make an idol, you're also able to control it. And so we want to make something, this is a tendency, we want to make something that we can control rather than to be available to God who we can't control. Thought on that?
Well, if we could, we're not God, you know, and the first 3 commandments just hit you right in the face.
Right.
And I think that's why they're there, is to make it clear that He is God, and He did so many miracles to show us His might. Not just the crossing the Red Sea or the resurrection, but many other places that He's shown Himself to be a loving God, for He so loved the world.
That's right. So we're going to stop with this, and we're actually going to fast forward through a little bit of Deuteronomy, because some of it's somewhat repetitious, and then we're going to get to some places later on in our studies this week where I'm just going to drink coffee and let Rudy talk. All right? So thank you so much for being a part today. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow.